we have a powerhouse of industry stalwarts here on the panel with me, and I don't think I'll be able to do justice to them. So I am going to ask each of them to introduce themselves as well as their organizations, just so you know who you're going to be listening to over the next 60 to 70 minutes. So maybe then, Shyam, can I start with you? A brief introduction of yourself and your company, please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Shyam Sundar. I am from Mondelez, India. So I have experience of almost 25 plus years. I look after the national warehousing portfolio.
Thank you, Shyam. Divakar.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Divakar Bhardwaj. I'm from Polycab India Limited, the largest manufacturers of wires and cables and electrical goods. At present, the portfolio which I'm taking care is of automation when it comes to the automation of every sense in the factories or in the warehouses, as well as packaging and brand protection.
Thank you, Divakar. Mudit, can we have your introduction?
Hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mudit Dobhal, and I am representing my company, Indospace. So Indospace is India's largest investor, developer, and manager of industrial and logistics parks with a footprint of about 60 million square feet spread across 11 cities with 52 parks. Our assets are currently valued at about $3 billion. And I basically head our business development and key accounts portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you, Mudit. Amritendu, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Amritendu Mukherjee. I am from Dr. Reddy's Limited. It's a major generic pharmaceutical company based out of India, about $4 billion revenue. And healthcare is the primary focus for our industry, and in that I am heading logistics. So I head global logistics. That's my current profile. And thank you for being here, and thank you CII for this platform.
Thank you, Amritendu. And then Shakti, last but not the least.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Shakti Chaube. I represent Craftsman Storage System, which is a part of Craftsman Automation Group. We enable customer to enhance their supply chain efficiency. Craftsman has 16 production plant in country because it's a large industrial conglomerate catering to various businesses, and we have 2 facilities abroad in Germany and Netherlands. And I'm heading the intralogistics automation arm, so that where we can help customer to really make the most use of the technology to enhance their supply chain automation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakti. So, the topic for today, which is navigating robust technologies for warehouse transformation, I think first of all, it's a very topical topic. So it's something that needs to be talked about. And it's also a topic that I think is going to become more and more relevant as we progress as an economy and as we move with the new technologies. So with that, I'm going to open this to Shyam, and Shyam, maybe give us a few opening words about where do you think the transformation is headed, the warehouse transformation is headed. What do you see as the biggest driver? Is it customer expectations? Is it cost pressures? Is it technology? Is it a mix of all of these? Where do you think this is all headed?
Well, let me start with the objective. Why do we need transformation, especially technology in the things? So in my mind, there are 2 clear things. One is service, other one is cost. We should be high on service, low on cost. How do we do this? It's efficiency. If you need to bring efficiency in your warehouse, you have to adopt technology. That's where we are going to adopt technology in the warehousing. Next, since we are talking on the subject of warehouse, essentially warehouse do 3 things, 3 major things. One, it inbound, it stores, it dispatches. In between storage and dispatch, it will do peak related activity. In between, it is incoming and storage, it will do put away activities. If you work on each of these things or all of these things, apply technology which is in robust in nature and sustainable, you are going to improve the efficiency. Once you hit the efficiency, it will improve your cost and service. So your company will have best cost to serve model if you apply technologies to this. Moving forward, how do you do? Where do you apply technology? So you have two facets, like each side of the coin. The facet number one is the physical attributes which happens in the warehouse, which is related to picking, packing, moving, counting, etc. So in this area, we can apply technologies depending on the urge of the company or the appetite of the company. To begin with, we can have racking, MHEs, conveyors. If you go further, ASRS. If you have appetite more, you can put robots, cobots, AGVs, AMRs, drones. All of this is going to help in increasing the operational efficiency. Coming to the other facet or the other side of the coin, which is nothing but the mirror image of all the operational aspect which you are doing, which is captured in terms of data. You work on with this data. The data should be very structured and organized, where in which you can apply data analytics, BI, AI, all this stuff, AMRs, IoT, all this thing. And the latest ones is quantum computing and digital twins. All of them you apply, then you can have your warehouse managed entirely through digital controls. You can have sustainability management, quality management, security management, and other overall management and government system, including the legal and regulatory aspects, all are in your palm top or the smartphones itself. That's how we have to apply technology, gain the mileage out of it.
Thanks, Shyam. I think, very well said. I think it's a combination of all of these and more. And, one of the benefits of having such a diverse panel is we can actually get a similar, we can get views on the similar topics with very diverse backgrounds. So Shakti, I would actually put the same question then to you. Where do you see this, where do you see the warehouse transformation heading today with respect to so many different facets?
So Shyam has very clearly, mentioned that warehouse transformation is bound to happen. Eventually, whether we push it or not, it's eventually going to happen because that is the need of the time, and it is going to be more and more technology driven. Now, looking at who is going to drive, is it more coming from the customer expectations, which you said, or the cost pressures, or the technology element? So see, customer expectations are the biggest driver for any kind of thing to happen, because they are the one who are facing, who have the pain areas and where they have to address. So this is going to continue. There is a tremendous amount of growth in the business, and it also adds to the complexity. When we have a combination of these things, it pushes pressure on any solution which has 4 key elements. Largely, it should be speed. You should be able to meet the deliverables. It has to have the accuracy. More importantly, it should be flexible solution, because you don't know the nature of your business, how it is going to change. And another important element is more in terms of the reliability or the resilience of the solution. So these are very important element. Now, when we look at cost pressure and technology, they are basically, they enable the solution. However, the push is always for a faster and more reliable solution. The push is always from the customer end. In India, we all know that, yes, cost pressures are real and they are substantial because we operate in the logistics sector where there are thin margins as companies seek to become more and more competitive. So this is always going to be there. But I think this we can address much better by going for Make in India, or rather Made in India, even if the technology is superior or comparable. And sometimes, when you have more Indian thing into it, it helps you in customizing. because global, global warehouses and Indian warehouses differs a lot. So that is another typical element of it. So basically, when we are looking at it and when we really have to have, Ramit, the transformational warehouse, my experience of 2 decades in this industry suggests that this can happen when the user as well as the system provider, they all work as a partner to select the right technology, which is not only meeting the current need, but is scalable and flexible for future. It comes at a right price and eventually delivers on the customer expectation, not only currently, but across the life cycle, maybe through some customization in future.
Thanks, Shakti. And again, very interesting perspective. Bringing people and technology together. And in that vein, Divakar, I have a question actually for you, and which picks very rightly from what Shakti answered. So, where do you think the future of the warehouse is going to be? Is it going to be people-led? Is it going to be technology-led? Is it going to be a mixture of these? Where are we headed?
See, hi, good afternoon. If you look at the market, our Indian market, what we need right now is a combination of tech and human. Everything comes with a cost. The first thing which is to be answered is ROI. In the olden times, we used to say, na, कि कितना average देते हैं. Putting up technology is everything comes with a cost. Everything has a cost. Not only a cost of buying or implementing, cost of retaining it and working it out. I've designed a warehouse which I named as a dark warehouse, whereas complete technologies was involved. AGVs, AMRs, then ATLs, coding, putting the things in a place, everything. But is Indian market ready to bear that cost? No, not right now. Coming down a decade, yes, our country's market will be ready to take that kind of a cost and customer. So what we need to look at is the TAT, the turnaround term of making sure that the goods reaches to the customer. Because if your product availability, not only a single product mix I'm talking about, the rainbow pellets, if it is available, then customer is very happy, and the more services you provide with the help of product availability, this is. So in my view, at present, it's a combination of a human and a tech up to the level which we can handle. Doesn't depend on that. Depending on the people who are operating it, because warehouse, the people generally, we take people who are at a particular level. So that tech which can, yes, looking at the future, complete tech warehouse is a requirement, but in India, at least for a decade or so, in my view, we should go with a combination of a tech plus human if we want to be a successful player around. And with the kind of infrastructure which our government has built up, with the network of the roads, where you improve on turnaround time or product availability reaching from one city to other from the factories, this will be very helpful. And the most important part, which is standardization. Standardization of the packaging material, standardization of the pallet, standardization of the trucks, defining the process and protocol. That efficiency of a warehouse depends on this also. Sorry for using Hindi. In how much time एक truck में कितनी देर में load करता हूँ? जो the truck which we can load in 2 hours, many a time it take 10 hours to load. Why? Because the product, it is lying there somewhere, it is lying there. There the technology will help in tracking the product inside. Right now we talk about tracing the product to customer, from factory to the customer. Why can't we trace the process inside the warehouse so that availability becomes easy? Then we can, not even warehouse where products are kept is, I consider retail shop is also a warehouse for us. If this technology is transferred from this warehouse to that small warehouse, the success will come. So it will take a decade or so to go to compete on the technology. It will be a combination of man and tech. That's the thing.
So in the let's say the near future, we are looking at a combination of people and tech, and but then we move more and more towards tech. That's the takeaway then? Well, so talking about technology then, Amritendu, I have a question. Nicely that moves to technology. So, when we are adopting these technologies, should companies be, should they be starting with small modular pilots and then scale gradually? Or do you think it makes sense to have a bold end-to-end automation bet? Which of the two works?
Thanks, Ramit, for asking that question. Before I get to the actual answer of the question, one point, there is a concept of Maslow's hammer, which is basically you have a hammer and now you are trying to find a nail. What's my experience have been, so around 21 years back when I started my career, I started with warehouse of an automobile industry, and first project was same implementation of technology for picking. Barcodes were there. There used to be a reader which used to have the pick list, and it tells me the position where that particular next material will be there, and we go and then scan it, and then accordingly I pick the right material for that assembly. From that day till this day, I've been seeing usage of technology, and most of the time I'm finding we are very happy to use these as buzzwords and then try to figure out we will have implemented this. Before we jump into that, we should be very clear on why we are doing it. So I think for some part of that is already answered by Diwakar and Mr. Shyam, that he mentioned cost and service, he mentioned that it is ROI. So we need to be very clear why we are doing it, what is the net outcome. Now coming to the question that you had asked me, when we are trying to take up something, we should be clear with the why. Once we are clear with the why, we should have a vision which is for the end-to-end. But these all technologies, it might sound very attractive, great, but when it comes, right, for implementation, it has its own challenges. And that's why I always, at least I have done, and I would recommend also, is to go with a pilot. There has been cases where we have piloted the same use case with 3 different technologies to understand which one actually works. And then you do scale. See, the problem what happens is, if there is something new that has come which can help you, it is something which can help multiple others. If you have to move fast, you really need to carry out your things in a very timely fashion. And you cannot do, okay, we have done the POC successfully, now let's figure out what to do. That kills. See, you cannot move that my POC is successful, now I'm getting into the plan, how will I move it end to end? You create your plans A, B, C, whichever clicks, you can move it fast. So your POC also should be, scope should be very tight and defined, timelines should be defined, and objectives should be very clear. Objective should not be from the purpose of technology is able to do. Objective should be from the purpose that the business case is getting served. Because I have been doing it, so I understand it happens. Sometimes we get biased. This feature has been utilized. Whether that feature is actually yielding to the benefit which we initially planned, that's the important part. We should be focused on that. So coming back to the question, we should do pilots. Then we should try to have a vision end-to-end, and we should try to have a very tight scope and timeline so that we can roll out faster. That's where the edge comes. Otherwise, then it becomes, again, everybody is doing. So how do you gain something?
All right, so starting with a why, which I guess is the right approach in any problem that we are solving in the world. So starting with the why, have a POC, have a very clear structure, and have a very clear objective and timeline, and the success should be pretty much ours. I want to bring in Mudit, at this point. So Mudit, we spoke about the future of warehousing. What I want to understand is, there are so many shifting business needs. We are moving from e-commerce requiring a faster fulfillment, manufacturers seeking resilience and so on, right? Now, how do you see warehousing continuing to evolve to meet these diverse customer requirements? Is there a one medicine that can address everything, or do we really need to go wide to answer all of these requirements?
Thanks, Ramit, for asking this question. So I'll actually share a developer or an investor perspective in terms of the evolution that we have seen in the warehousing on the industrial park space. So, what we have actually seen over the last, 10 years is a rapid transformation which is happening from a warehousing perspective, from a consumer perspective, in terms of a big shift which is happening from, general trade or traditional trade into an organized trade, right? So from unorganized, there's a big shift which is happening towards an organized trade, largely driven by offline, modern format, retail brands, retail stores, e-commerce, quick commerce. So what has this led is that, supply chains are actually shifting from being push-based, inventory-led, distributor-led to becoming more pull-based and more responsive. So what is this doing is that, this is leading to, creation of capacities, consolidation of the distribution channels itself, and therefore, leading to creation of these national fulfillment centers or regional fulfillment centers, which are in turn, feeding into the spoke warehouses. And these spoke warehouses could be, tier 2 warehouses or in-city warehouses, which are again solving for faster deliveries. So that's the shift that we have seen, which is driving the demand for, consumer-led warehousing requirements. So what we have seen is that, over the last 5 years, the warehousing market itself in India has scaled up from 250 million square feet to roughly now about 500 million square feet. This is growing at a CAGR of about 20%, 18-20%. Within this segment, there is a big transformation which is happening in terms of a shift which is happening from grade B, C into grade A. And this is largely propelled by increased penetration of organized retail. So as we speak today, the organized retail market in India is at about $200 billion. By 2030, when the Indian GDP is expected to be about 7 trillion, this number is expected to scale up to 600 billion in terms of organized retail. So while the overall retail market will still grow at 8%, 7-8% in the next 5 years, the organized retail, which is your modern stores, your e-com and quick com, are expected to grow at 20-odd%. And this will also drive the demand for grade A warehousing. So on the consumption side, this is the story. On the manufacturing side, what we are seeing is, there is a lot of push towards indigenous manufacturing, the Make in India campaigns, the PLI schemes, which is focused around import substitution, which means that, we have to reduce our dependencies in terms of subcomponent imports. And there is a growing focus in terms of exports as well. So basically, today as we speak, the manufacturing GVA stands at about $500 billion. But with the focus that the government has in terms of indigenization, this market is expected to be about 1.2 trillion in 2030. So those are the numbers that we are speaking about. And this is actually mandating a lot of manufacturing companies to look at plug-and-play factory model and looking at faster creation of capacity. So this is again a segment which is growing at a very fast pace, largely driven by, some key sectors like auto ancillaries, electronic manufacturing services, solar renewable manufacturing in India, and of course, aerospace and defense. So these are, 4 broad categories. So I think the outlook looks pretty positive, and I think grade A warehousing and factory setups are going to be a big driver towards, automation adoption in India. So I think this is my perspective in terms of, how the journey is going to evolve over the next 5-6 years.
Thanks, Mudit. I would say a very, very bright picture ahead. And, one of my takeaways would be if there are investors in the crowd, we know which sectors to invest in at least in the next 10-15 years. Supply chain and logistics is, the future is very bright. But then, Shyam, I want to come back to you. With such a bright future, what kind of challenges do you see? And, how do do you think there are challenges ahead, or is it all, a very smooth road ahead? And how do you think we could navigate if there are challenges?
Well, other panelists told respective areas. I mentioned in physical warehousing as well as in data warehousing, almost in each section, I mentioned about 10 odd utilities or technologies can be applied. Is that very easy, as I listed, to deploy them in our companies? Answer is no. again, there is two facets or two key things which are required in each side, one on each side. In the physical side, as he mentioned, we need a quality warehouse. Our quality warehouses are very limited, and if quality warehouse in the sense the flooring should be perfect, height should be available, right parking, right infrastructure. Unless those things are there, whatever I mentioned, the robots, cobots, AGVs, doesn't move well, it will collapse. So that means the high quality infrastructure in terms of warehousing standard has to be there. Coming to the data side, host of programs I told, right from ERP, SAP, TMS, WMS, all those things can work very efficiently unless the company have high quality IT infrastructure. These are the basic things which need to be there to propel our technology into the warehousing. Is that enough? More important one is the people. People not just with hands and legs. People should be with skill. The skill set is very, very important. How do we get the skill set? We need to have a proper training and education programs in the factory or in the company or in the warehouse, so they can squeeze out every bit of technology which is applied in the automation side or the data side. Otherwise, there will be a blame game or a half-cooked solution will come. People will reject those technologies. It's not good and efficient. So, identifying right people with right skill set, with the right change management, these are very, very important to drive technology in warehousing. Is that all? No. We need support of the senior management when we go with this proposal to have a sign-off. The moment we go with a list of expenses, they will ask the one word ROI. Where does the ROI? How to justify? While people with knowledge and experience put the number, okay, I spend this much, I'll get this much, it will take 5 years, 8 years, 10 to recover the cost. It doesn't enough. Unless we have, companies have some structural program, which are those things like IL6X, Lean Six Sigma processes, or the TAPA FSR, TSR. Those things will enable us to identify the gaps in our process, not by individuals. So when we identify those gaps, can we have a solution which fix this gap? Then we identify those technologies, adapt to that, plug it, and fix it. What does it happen? It will bring the efficiency. What will happen if the efficiency come? Cost and service. This will how it has to be identified, and we can adapt to these things.
The right people, the right mindset, the right technologies, and that brings us the results. And like you said, the all-important word, the ROI, I think that's something that a company would always look for. Thanks, Shyam. On the topic of ROI, Divakar, I have a question for you. Where do you see the strongest ROI in warehouse technologies? Is it robotics? Is it WMS upgrades, data-driven intelligence? Is there something else to the mix? You know, there's this buzzword of AI that comes in. What is it that, where do we really see the ROI?
See, ROI is something which is like a return on investment. So it's not only the technology what we're talking about is giving us the ROI. ROI is basically the customer delight, the efficiency of making sure that the goods reach on time. ROI is considered and calculated basis on that also. Technology is available, but how much of technology we need at particular time. If I just give you a small canvas right now, I design a warehouse where the products are loaded into the truck with the help of automatic truck loading. A code is sent, and it comes to the warehouse, the truck comes at the way, the trigger is given from the factory to the warehouse. Warehouse, there is no person, hardly 1 or 2 persons sitting over it. And the code gives a trigger. The trigger says as soon as the truck comes, the system starts working. Another ATL taking everything down, scan, AGVs, AMRs coming up, moving it up, placing in the double deep or single deep, LIFO, FIFO, whatever it's maintained. So you can imagine the amount of cost involved in it. If we start justifying that cost in India right now, it will take minimum 25 years. I'm talking the truth. Because I myself, before working on the technology, I have sat in the factory and loaded the trucks with the workers. To understand, to design a warehouse, I was not sitting in the office with the technology, I was sitting with the truck drivers in their cabin and moving on the road to understand that what is the mentality, how the things go. Turn ka time kitna hai? How much time it takes a truck to reach from one destination to another destination? How many halts? So ROI will not only depends on the customer, on the technology. We have to justify a tech. We have to calculate the ROI of complete turnaround time of making sure the product leaving the manufacturing bay till it reaches the customer's hand. So tech is very important. We need it for accuracy. We need people for accuracy, for managing that. So ROI can be justified, but in my view, it will take time in our country to justify the ROI of complete tech. So right now we need a combination. This is my saying, we combination. And believe me, I have seen a factory in Gujarat, in Ahmedabad. That guy has got a warehouse which he manages only on humans. Only on humans, and the way the coding, the marking, the color combination, exactly, he knows कि मेरा ट्रक अगर आएगा तो मैं 45 मिनट्स में ट्रक भर दूंगा. 45 का 46 minutes is not there. So there is no tag. So it's basically the processes. It's basically the SOP, which we need to work over it depending on the customer requirement. This is what is my take over it. Basically.
So we need to work on the processes before we work on the tech itself.
Yes, because once you improve the processes, you start studying the efficiency output of a person who is loading it. By punch किया, कितना देर में उसका आउटपुट आया, कितनी देर में उसने उसको मूव्ड इट आउट. सो डू यू रियली नीड दैट टैग राइट नाउ, और इज द टैग अवेलेबल? इट्स लाइक अ व्हाट्सएप, इट्स अवेलेबल एवरीबॉडी. हाफ ऑफ द टाइम, लाइक इवन मी, मैनी अ टाइम पीपल आर बिजी इन मोबाइल, गिविंग अ पेन टू द नेक एंड पेन टू द आईज. डू वी रियली नीड दैट मच स्क्रीन टाइम? I don't think so. We don't need that much time, because then we will be needing doctors. So we earn for ourselves or we earn for doctors. We are aging. Why can't we look at that? Tech is very important. We should have. But there is a saying, Ati sarvatra varjite. So right now it's not a time. A time will come. But so this is my take over it.
Thank you. Thanks, Divakar. Shakti, I have a question on tech. I mean, there's so much discussion around tech. The topic of our discussion is tech. Do you think, the companies are being pushed too quickly into tech, or not being, is there a FOMO around it, the fear of missing out, or what is it that, what is it that's driving the tech, or the lack of that drive?
See, technology will always continue to advance and amaze us. So basically, technology is accelerating at a very rapid pace. So when we have this thing, obviously FOMO is a factor. It will come into play. And sometimes, yes, do companies rush into it? Yes, they do rush into it because they want to keep up with the competition. But sometimes they miss out that what suits you. See, every organization is different. Within the industry also, I have seen every organization operates because you have different set of processes. So, what works for you may not work for other, and vice versa. So this is very fine element where you have to really look into it. You should understand whether this technology is specifically solving a particular problem which you want to address. If you see, then okay, if there is a merit in that, then you should focus on calculative adaptation of technology which can give you a competitive edge. That is basically the most important element. Now, also when we really look at this in terms of the FOMO, basically another important element, I think what Amrindu was discussing about in terms of the pilot project. See, technology, you can't stay away from technology, because if you stay away from a technology for a longer period of time, it will lead into inefficiencies, and you may not be able to service your customer well, and eventually, it may lead to erosion of your market share. So because, GST has changed the complete dynamics, more consolidation of warehouses and things like that are happening. So basically, look at what you are adapting in terms of technology. As Divakar ji, also said, like where we have to use. Basically, technology, if it's a new technology, which is something not proven, that is something where you have to go for small modular pilots, because they are smarter, they are quicker. This will enable company to experiment with a lot of new technologies. The disruptions are minimum in that, and you could also be able to do a iteration of a lot of real-time data, because you are doing a pilot. It's not a very big data where you have to jump into a lot of data analytics and computing before getting into it. However, when you look at the other arm of the element, that basically yes, technology, because technology doesn't mean just doing a small prototype kind of thing. There are large-scale technology which has its own merit. When we really look at it globally, it's all about technology giving a lot of benefit. So in terms of end-to-end technology, when you are looking at it, you have to really understand that is it a proven technology A? So you can draw that references from industries, various other players, maybe in the domestic market, maybe in the international market, and start with your data and see, does that work for you? I can give you a classic example in terms of adoption of, this technology and fear of missing out. Because I have seen a tectonic shift in the mindset of the customer. Sometimes very large organizations are very fearful of adapting technology, whereas old orthodox business, which are more promoter driven, and they are typically setting a business for the future generation. They know that what they have run, they have been only able to run because they know the tricks of the trade, to really channelize the human. Now when it is getting more into the professional management concept, this will become difficult. So one of the projects that we are doing in, that's a classic example which will possibly fit in, was more in terms of where the customer has huge volumetric storage. They had a very high throughput. Volumetric storage in terms of, let's say, 30,000 pallet locations, roughly to give you an idea. Throughput of around 250 tons to be moved, which will translate to around 300, 320 pallets per hour. And because it was a greenfield project planned for next 15 years, they had a challenge of space constraints. So the obvious answer was to go taller. Taller means you go for an automated warehouse. So basically that is where even a larger, bigger thing of technology, so that fear you have to overcome. It will always be a FOMO initially, but then this is only going to solve your problem. You cannot create, you don't have a football ground, and then managing that would also become very difficult. Whereas the same customer has one genuine problem. Okay, you have created an auto warehouse, but what do you do from production till that auto warehouse? Because that is also driven by more humans, so they have a lot of damages there in the past. What they have seen, accuracy was an issue, the skill set of the people was an issue. So obviously, if I am sitting across the table, the easiest answer I can give, why not use a FMR, which is an advanced version of AMR, so forklift mobile robot. But then when you really do that computation, you would need 14 such FMRs. Now, if you really tell a customer to adopt such big, and it may work or it may not work, because that's a very different thing. So basically there they have gone for a pilot kind of thing. You just start with 2 FMR, and that's where I initially said any technology that you get into should be scalable and flexible. So let's say if that FMR works, you implement all the 14 there, because the proof is in the pudding. Whereas if it doesn't work, then you can always move that FMR from one plant to another or to any other distribution center. So, this is how it is. You have to look at it from the lens, what suits your business. Don't just get carried away. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So I think do what makes sense for you, and I guess, we come back to the why. So why are we doing things, and then take a decision accordingly, not just because of FOMO. Yeah. Thanks. So Amritindu, I have a question. I have a two-part question actually for you. And so there is always this talk about technology is coming, we are going to lose jobs. AI is coming, we are going to lose jobs. And there are I know that there are students in this audience here, people who are going to get into the workforce very soon. uh, how do we navigate? You know, is this automation really reducing jobs? Do we take this as an opportunity for new jobs? What can be done? You know, can people upskill? What is to be done to resolve this dilemma?
Good question. So, the way I look at it is, I am not saying I'm afraid because this is from ages, it has been there. From the time of industrial revolution, it has been there. Something new is coming. People are apprehensive about any change. If you see the history, actually things have been evolving. We are apprehensive because it's not always easy for everybody to accept that change, uh, accept the change and make ourselves ready to be in that role. So this continuous upgrade takes effort, and that's where things go, it lose that track. If it is coming, if AI is coming, let us figure out ways of how do we harness it. We were having this chat and yes, AI is coming means some computers which are earlier used to listen to us are now becoming smarter. So we have to be smarter than that, right? Otherwise, it rules us. So we have to figure out ways and means of doing that. How do we do it is a different question, but I don't think it is having an impact on immediate job. It is definitely having an impact on the nature of job. See, I come from, or I represent right now, I come from different industry. Major part of that has been tech, but currently if I say in logistics, the sector that I am representing, the people with whom I work, I interact every day, when they started their career 20, 25, 30 years back, the shape of logistics was very different. It used to be placement of a truck, warehouses were godowns, material used to be kept there, truck used to be called, it used to be loaded. That was the nature of the job. Today it is not. I represent pharma sector. Placement of a truck itself has n number of checks. I need to know what type of truck can be used for loading a pharma. I need to know whether it's having qualification done. Means it has sensors, but whether those sensors has been calibrated. What's the nature of calibration? Whether it has been done as a seasonal profiling. These are new aspects which now need to be known by the person who is managing the transportation. So today also truck placement is an activity, but it has become enriched. If you expect the person who was managing the truck placement activity 30 years or 25 years back to do the same thing today, no sir, it will not work. In the same manner, when these technologies do come into play, let's say we are using transport management systems, and the transport management systems has to be utilized to figure out what route should be used, when that truck should be called. These capabilities has to be encashed. We need people who will be able to encash that and deliver the value. You cannot use the same mindset, same skill set to run these new engines. So I am, at least personal view, I don't feel that we have to be concerned that jobs are going to be lost or something. We need to gear up. We need to adopt these new skill sets. Everybody has to learn. I also learn. I'm taking classes. I'm very seriously studying. I take training courses, try to understand, figure out what this AI is, actually how it can be harnessed. That is what the purpose is supposed to be. Otherwise, we have to always call it a doomsday. It doesn't work out in that way. At least I personally do not feel that's the truth.
Thanks, Amritendu. Again, I must say that's a positive outlook compared to what we see in the media these days. And, I think you are absolutely right. I think it's our own responsibility to keep on upskilling, keep on learning, keep on making sure that we are reinventing ourselves. That's the only way that we stay ahead in the game. Otherwise, of course, if we're sitting on our chairs and letting technology take over, for sure it's going to, uproot us. Yes, please.
Sorry, if I just allow. So recent days, I think it's coming from the point like in this year, I think last 3-4 months, we have seen a lot of layoff news coming on from the tech companies. You tell me, sir, we are not tech. We are the guys who are using tech. Tech companies are saying layoff. Why? So what is happening? Those jobs which earlier used to be done by a certain skill set can now be automated. So what they are looking for is people with a higher skill set to those activities. The jobs are getting enriched. So obviously, everybody is saying, right, we can now load a truck in, what, 5 minutes? I heard the number, some 5 minutes, 4 minutes, some numbers I heard. Earlier, a 24-foot truck, 900 shippers, needs to be loaded in 1 hour. Number of people needed to do that job versus when you do that same activity in 4 minutes or 5 minutes will be less. But that doesn't mean we don't need people. We need people for a different skill set who can do that, which I mentioned. Has these trucks been qualified? Whether those TMS systems are operating, somebody is monitoring the control tower. Those are the new things that will be coming. We also have to figure out that the quality of the activities where human is required is changing.
Thanks again, Amritendu. We are running, yeah, sure, Devakar, short one from you, please.
We are not technology makers, we are technology consumers. And consumer will sustain every time. How much technology we have to consume is what we have to decide. So no need to worry whether AI is coming, whether FR is coming, whether RG. It will improve the efficiency of ours. It will improve the life of customer. It will improve the turnaround time. We will sustain because we are technology consumers. We are not technology creators. For improving the human life. End of the day, everything comes to human or the customer. So no need, whoever youngsters are sitting and thinking nothing will happen, don't worry. Just enhance your skills, keep on learning, you yourself find new things. This is my personal experience and with the technology I've learned. This is the thing.
Thank you. Thanks, Devakar. We are coming to the close of the session and I want to keep some time for the audience as well. But before that, Mudit, I want one last word from you. There's so much debate around AI, and you spoke about the grade A warehousing. Where is this headed? Do you see AI enabling this entire shift? Do you see this enabling AI? Is it something that's mutual? Where do you think this is headed?
Yeah, so Ramit, what I feel is that, there have been limitations in terms of automation, AI, adoption, and, largely coming from mid-sized 3PL companies. And I think one way to address that would be, developers like us looking at a bundled offering, which is a combination of real estate with infrastructure services on a rental basis. So the idea is that, you would be able to democratize, automation in a way that it is not only limited to, cash-rich, big e-commerce companies, but then there is, adoption with maybe 3PL companies, there's more adoption with SMEs, and therefore, you have to look at infrastructure as a service model. So I think that is something that we want to address as Indospace and being the market leaders, and therefore, now what we are offering our customers is an asset-light proposition around infrastructure services. So the idea is the way it actually creates value is, one, it actually helps you, lighten your balance sheet as an end customer. Second is that, as a developer and if you are investing in the asset, you have a better ability to sweat the asset over its useful life and not necessarily over the lease tenure that the, end customer would solve for. I think the biggest benefit, which is not only limited to smaller companies and is also, exciting for the big corporates, is in terms of value that you unlock, in terms of reducing the overall cost of ownership. So, if you have a customer who is investing in your facility in terms of, racking, storage, shelving systems, and, once the lease tenure is over, he has to, replace these assets, dismantle these assets. So there's a huge exit cost that the customer, incurs in terms of, one is the dead rental that he has to pay. There is dismantling cost, there is asset loss, you have to again store these assets in a warehouse. There's a transportation cost. So our sense is that, typically this exit cost is roughly 45 to 50% of the capex. However, if this investment comes from the developer, then, if a tenant leaves, we are in a better ability to, release and repurpose that asset across, multiple customers that we have, multiple parks that we have. And so, those are the kind of investments that we are willing to make and create value not only for smaller players, but also larger players. Also, we see that, when we talk about grade A penetration, so grade A essentially represents warehouses with scale. These are warehouses which are smarter, and it also means standardization. So this essentially means that, there is basically a value proposition for companies who want to, and of course, like I said, the supply chains are shifting from being push-based to becoming more pull-based, which essentially means there is a real-time data sharing across the supply chain. You have to be responsive, you have to be lean, and you have to be fast, which is not possible without the adoption of technology and AI in today's time and age. And therefore, if you look at a grade A warehouse, the kind of flooring that it comes with, which is a FM2 flooring, a super flat floor, enables, free movement of, your robotic vehicles, automated guided vehicles across. The layouts are also, wider, and they kind of, enhance high storage density kind of, storage systems within your warehouse. You have, docks for every 10,000 square feet, which essentially ensures that you have a, faster flow through the facility, both on the inbound and the outbound side. And there is, integration in terms of, scale, quality that you are building, and also in terms of the ESG or the sustainability piece, and also in terms of the, these warehouses being automation ready, right? So, which is a, critical requirement. Like I said, there's a big shift which is happening towards organized retail, and I feel that, the future is extremely bright, and it's largely propelled by, the automation trends that we are seeing. And essentially, grade A warehousing that we build is an enabler towards automation adoption as well. Yeah, so those are my 2 cents on this.
Thank you, Mudit. Technology is here to stay. I think how we make use of it. I think that really is going to decide how we propel our companies, our country, our industries forward. I want to open this up. Maybe we have a time for 1 or 2 questions. Are there any questions in the audience? Yes, I see a hand up there. Can we have the mic there, please?
Hi, this is Chetan Atsol. I'm from Alchem Laboratories, which is a pharma company. My question is that we discussed about ROI, right, in this space. With respect to ROI, I have 2 questions. One is in the long term that we are operating now, what makes sense, OPEX model of warehousing or CAPEX? The second one is with the changing technology, shifting to AI, with tech changes that are happening, not at the consumer end, but technology end. Does it, from ROI perspective, make sense to consume products which are created or enable our internal captive IT teams to develop our own products so that we provide that return on the investment that we are making? So both are related to ROI. I would request a point on this from your side.
Is this question to anybody in particular? Or?
Not specifically, whoever can take it. The 2 questions are for that. Yeah.
I'll go with. See, from the end user perspective, if you are a company, you are into pharma, your core business is making medicine. So you should concentrate on that. For example, I represent Mondelez, which makes chocolate. My core business is chocolate. So I should enable anything I do with respect to complementing to that, and all other things which I need, as I said, we need to assess the gap perfectly. Otherwise, either we will over-specify or under-specify our requirement. In both the cases, we go wrong. So there are people like providing the right infrastructure, and like Craftsman's, they give the solution. They are expert because they lies with multiple companies' requirement and understand. Some of the things, nuances will be common in everybody's thing. Picking, packing, etc., or warehousing, referring to that, most of the things. But the way in which pharma works or food company works, their batch is very important, all those things, FIFO is important. Whereas in the other industry, those things are not relevant. So adaptability of a right thing is very important. One example, crude example I want to highlight why it is very important. I might buy iPhone 16 Pro, but all that I do is receive a call and tell I am stuck in traffic and swiping through the videos, etc., and forwarding the WhatsApp. I spent 1.5 lakh rupees for that. Probably just to do these three things, I can spend 1,500 rupees and these things. That means I have over budgeted and acquired a big thing which is not required for my limited operations. So identify the right thing and check that availability in the market. After that, if it is too expensive, my proposal is always OPEX. OPEX is burden free and you can exit any time. But for the provider, it is a challenge. He might look for the scale. He might sell the solution to 10 odd people and recover the money. For us, I am one of them. So OPEX is the best option.
I will like to add, so of course, CAPEX versus OPEX may be a ROI decision for, some people, but I think it's also extremely important to understand the challenges because, creation of capacity when it comes to warehousing or factory is not an easy job. And honestly speaking, if you look at a concept to operation journey, it's typically a 4-year journey, right from acquiring land to getting the approvals and, getting the building delivered. So is that the kind of time that, and the resources that you have and, you're willing to waste in terms of creation of capacity, or are you looking at something which is more plug-and-play in nature, which gives you flexibility in terms of expanding in multiple markets in less than 3 months? Or, you would rather wait for, 4 long years. And see, warehousing, globally, if you actually look at different models, so whether it is 3PL or end customers, it's mostly an outsourcing model where, most of the companies actually work with developers of international repute who solve for, all the compliances, ESG and all of that, and give you, a building on a plug-and-play or a shared basis. But today, even manufacturing companies, who have so much skin in the game in terms of, plant and machinery investments that they are going to make, are also looking at a plug-and-play infrastructure for setting up factories and warehouses, largely because, time is becoming increasingly a strategic advantage, right? Because, the earlier that you are ready, if you're not ready on time, you miss the bus. So I think from an infrastructure standpoint, infrastructure will always be, as a service when it comes to warehousing.
You also
Yeah,
on that, so.
just to quickly add upon it, for the paucity of time, see, pharma is one of the most easiest in terms of ROI. Because basically, there if you look at it, you come under US FDA norms, you have stringent like CFR, 21, Part 11 and all that, where you need those authenticity and validation. So software is, typically something it's completely pro-tech, point number one. In India, I think I've also, personally I have seen implemented around 40 auto warehouses, and I think Amritendu sitting beside me has done many in terms of the automation and technology. So it is much easier, and more importantly, you also need an AC environment, So you need a compactness and stuff like that, which help you. Regarding your OPEX and CAPEX, yes, that's an organization financial decision. You can go for a CAPEX, or as Mudit has very clearly mentioned, there are very good asset-light models which are now there available, where you don't want to invest initially, but you can stagger it. But certainly ROI for pharma is much more easier and faster.
Thank you, Shakti. I think we've pretty much run
Can I
out
ask
of
one
time.
question?
So, okay, there is one more question we can take, I guess.
I'm Praful Talera from Dynamic Logistics. Now, Mr. Bhardwaj made this comment that about dark warehouses and a rainbow palette that I assume requires a critical mass and a collaborative approach. Can you please elaborate on that concept of
What do
yours?
you understand by dark? What do you understand by a dark warehouse? Have you ever idea of what is a dark warehouse?
I assume that it comes from the dark kitchen sort of concept.
No, see, dark
I know.
warehouse.
What is your idea?
See, I tell you.
Yeah,
I'll
please.
tell you. I'll tell you about the tech. See, dark warehouse is something where hardly human involvement is there, which is as of now not possible in our country. This concept is coming up. Down the line, one decade or so, you'll find it's not only applicable to warehouses, it's applicable to factories as well. So I'll draw the canvas if you can visualize. Suppose there is a manufacturing location A. It manufactures a product alpha. You standardize everything. The product alpha is packed in particular defined packs, which size are defined. The coding, which you call serialization of the product linked to the master carton, and master carton linked to the pallet is done in a proper way. This all completes one consignment. A truck is being designed in such a way that it can take the maximum number of products. A code is generated at the time when the invoice is created. That code is put on the invoice. Similarly, a digital identity, because there is a difference between digitization and digitalization. People don't understand this. What is digitization is something else, and what is digitalization is something else. You are giving a digital identity to a particular product is called digitization, and you are using the technology is called digitalization. So there is a difference between the two. So you have to create a digitization, you have to give a digital identity to the truck. As soon as the truck is loaded, there is a trigger sitting at the warehouse. With the help of different network connections, the service providers, a trigger is pressed, but not a human, by a person. That so-and-so invoice is created, so-and-so truck is coming, it will be unloaded. It will define at what time that truck will reach there. As soon as the truck, I'm just giving you, just visualize it, okay? As soon as that truck launches, the shutter opens. As soon as the code is scanned with the help of the scanners which are mounted outside, it gives the intimation to the inner things. The things started moving, the AGVs and whatever, depending on your product type and what all. The ATL goes inside the trucks, it pulls the material back, and then all of the pallets pass through the scanners, and the coding is already there. The bays are defined where it is to be placed, and then they are placed over there, and one operation is open. Now the second part of the story, a customer is sitting, suppose in Delhi, he wants this product, he punches his order, he sends it on the mail, a system, which is not a human being, which is an AI. What is AI? AI cannot be better than HI. HI is human intelligence. End of the day, AI is made by us only. This is my thought. Okay, AI is only executing. What we want is what we is giving to AI right now. How to do it is AI is telling us with the help of different algorithms and the combinations of the program coding which is running right now. That's a simple, like, मैं इतना पढ़ा लिखा नहीं हूँ, but simple. This is the definition of AI. To be very frank, so we are thinking that AI, it depends on us whether we let the AI rule us or we rule AI. This is the thing. So then the person creates an order. The order comes, it punches in the system. Immediately a pick list is created. The command is given to the robots which has to deliver it. They assemble it in a truck. A trigger is given to the truck who are parked at the way. It comes, the shutter opens, they load it. So this is a dark warehouse. Hardly a human being is used in the system. It's a concept. It's a very good concept, and believe me or not, 10 years or 15 years down the line, you'll see people coming up with this thing because this will help in controlling. So this is, I think I'm able to answer what is a dark warehouse.
Thank you, sir.
I think we've pretty much run out of time. Thank you to the esteemed panel. I think this has been a very good discussion. You know, the one thing that I really like about these discussions is I get to learn so much. So thank you all, and thank you for being a great audience. That's it for today. Yeah. Thank you very much.